Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you.
Welcome to the party, pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 85. I'm talking to Claudia Nunes, who's involved with the Ladies of Liberty Alliance in Portugal. She's going to talk about Portugal today and the current situation there. Maybe we'll cover some history because a lot of people have been moving to Portugal, and I think it's a topic worth covering. How are you, Claudia?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. What about you?
I'm doing okay. So you've always been in Portugal. What can you tell me about the current economic situation there? And maybe we should not just say current, but maybe in the last 10 or 20 years. What's going on there?
Okay, our situation is pretty difficult. Currently, we are on our way to be like the poorest country in the European Union. Let me say hard things like countries that used to belong to the Soviet Union at this moment are above Portugal. So this is a thing that worries my generation a lot. But I feel like we are fighting a big war, like a cultural war, a war of fear. Because in Portugal, we were a dictatorship for almost 50 years. And to set us free from that, the Socialist Party and the Communist Party had a big part on the process. So the intention, mostly for the part of the Communist Party, was to put in Portugal a communist government. A most known leader from the Communist Party, Álvaro Cunhal, even said that Portugal won't play the elections game. Since it was too dangerous. So they tried to put that another repressive communist regime. It didn't happen because the military did a contra-revolution. But until today, it's like the older generations still attribute the cause of our freedom to the socialism. So even though the Socialist Party at these days are even more close to the extreme left wing, with a regime of like taking away your home, a week ago it was approved some law where the government can actually take away your second home, because we are currently facing a big problem with homes. People don't have houses. Houses are too expensive. People cannot buy it or rent it. So things are not very, very beautiful around here.
So Portugal is still a very socialist country.
It is, unfortunately, it is. I feel like my generation are trying to change, since the average elector from the Socialist Party is the women around the age of 55. I feel that at the moment, my generation, in the same line of the rest of the European countries, mostly of them, we are facing like some people that is extremely patriotic and right wing, that admires Trump and Bolsonaro, now Javier Milei, which is from another ideological line, but still these young people admire that those people. And there is another part of the youngest who are I don't know, for Lula and for Biden, and they say that is democracy and stuff. And the environment between these two teams, as I say, is getting a very hot environment, a very a war environment between these two parts. So I foresee that in the next years in Portugal we might have like the Socialist Party and the extreme right wing, which is now represented by Chega. In fact, I don't like to call it extreme right wing. I don't think they are really that, but that's the common voice, the common sense in Portugal. I think they will represent the two blocks in Portugal, special after the older generation gone, because the older generation are very scared even of the social democracy. So I foresee that's it.
Did you say it was mostly older women or 50 plus women who are socialists?
Yes, yes.
That's very interesting. Are they most is it a married single thing, or is it both?
No.
Demographics?
Is it both? Is it both? I think that women still think that the socialism will save the poor and people who are struggling in life, and it is very hard when we are trying to say that it's not that way. In fact, socialism doesn't give you anything that they didn't taken away from you before. It is a very hard concept to explain, and I think at least in Portugal, women are not so interested in politics. So it's like they don't go do some research. I think they are more they receive more influences from the newspapers and media, television, and it's easier for women to believe in the socialism lies.
Yeah, Portugal has a population of about 10 million.
Yes.
Is a pretty old country, pretty younger country, or what's that? What big families, small families?
Yes, Portugal is a very old country. The young couples almost don't have kids. I think the average for a couple is one kid and something. My generation is going to another countries. Last year, they went a lot to United Kingdom. Some of them even go to Spain, because right now we have the let's say the most educated generation ever. Almost everyone has a high school degree, university degree. But here in Portugal, they don't pay you enough. It's like sometimes what you will receive don't cover what you pay for your education. So people obviously see best opportunities outside. Um, and that's for the reason in the end they come to go to places like United Kingdom, Germany, Switzerland, and start their families in there. And so the future doesn't look so bright at the moment. And what happened is that some of immigrants, a lot of people from Brazil, people who came from the countries that are more poor than Portugal, in fact, see here a little more stable environment, and in the end, they are the people who marry and have children, but not really the Portuguese. No.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they're even going to some of the other Portuguese speaking countries like Brazil, Angola, and Mozambique.
Hmm.
And Mozambique and Angola kind of shocked me. I wouldn't expect they would be doing better off there, but it sounds like they might be.
Yes, yes, they have good conditions in Portugal. In fact, Portugal is helping a lot of students from Africa. Like, don't charge them the fees from the education. So it is like giving a big support for immigrants to who want to live their lives in here. um, I even know that at the moment, if some immigrants want to live in Portugal, that they don't have income tax for 10 years. So it is a really good condition from foreigners people to live in there.
Yes, and what's interesting is those countries, all three countries that used to be Portuguese colonies, have a lot more people than Portugal itself.
Yes, yes,
This brings us to an interesting question. Portugal has a very glorious history of exploration. Uh,
yes.
they were the first to go around the Horn of Africa. They discovered Brazil independently of Columbus. I mean, I know
Hmm.
the story was they saw the birds flying and they reasoned, oh, there must be land over there. So that's how they found Brazil.
Hmm.
Uh, well, what can you tell us about the golden age of Portugal? I mean, I find it very intriguing. Vasco da Gama and some of the other explorers you had that the country had.
Mm. I didn't understand your exact question. I'm sorry.
What can you tell us about the age of Portuguese exploration?
Okay.
Vasco da Gama and some of those great
Some of,
explorers that really did a lot of amazing things back then.
I think currently people, it's like they are ashamed of our past. Personally, I always look at this part of history with a big pride, because they were people that believed there was some monsters and legends on the seas, and they went and they went to explore, and they give world to the world. So um, I think the politics today try to erase what it had, um, in a good way, and try to bring the worst, and try to rewrite history right now. Sometimes I look back, and it's hard to me to believe that we used to be that big country, fearless, pride, very brave. And today it's like we are apologizing for things that at that time was not serious or harmful, or doesn't mean to be. It's like the values at that time, um, and now people, it's like they want to look at the history with the values and the ideas that we have today, and that it's not possible.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. It seems as though to erase, to try to atone for some of the mistakes of the past.
Yes.
It's as if you have to also erase the accomplishments. I mean, a lot of people thought, well, you can't go out to sea; you're going to fall off the edge of the earth or something like that.
Hmm.
It's really, I mean,
Hmm.
we didn't have these calculators and all these complicated instruments to measure things now.
Hmm. Yes,
That's
true. They
it's
were
it's
very
true.
brave.
You didn't have radios. If you got in trouble, you couldn't call somebody. I mean,
Yes.
it's very much the golden age. I mean, I don't know what really, and it's Portugal didn't do quite as well as Spain, but really it's interesting to think that this little country in Europe, once controlled Brazil has 20 times the population.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. So really it's kind of the same thing that's going on with all the West, though, is it's seems to be apologizing for its accomplishments.
yes, yes. They are ashamed for history,
Yeah,
and try to change it. Sometimes we see a politician or other or activists who want to bring down our Padrão dos Descobrimentos, which is a monument in Lisbon, who pays a tribute to our sailors and all these people who accomplished that. So sometimes we have some people who want to put it down, but that's it. There is people that still believe that it's a remarkable thing that we should not be ashamed of. So,
What do you think was the key motivation that inspired, especially Spain and Portugal, just to do such crazy stuff? I mean, was it just because there was more money, or
I think,
and you do you think it was capitalism, or do you think it was just a sense of adventure?
not only that. I think that I cannot speak for Spain, but
Yeah.
Portugal, we are very close to the sea. We are all sea everywhere. So I think it is very easy for you to be in there and imagine what is over there on the other side. And I believe that the religion played a big part in there, because there was a big faith and people want to spread the faith. They believe there is another land. It was kind of written, and so they believed if they go in there and they spread the faith, there will be like a salvation. So it was a big motivation to do that. And of course, in the end, the money part, it was very important as well, when the trading and species, I don't know, the cinnamon and sugar and stuff like that enter in the game. Obviously, it was due to financial reasons as well, but I think it started like a matter of faith that went along.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's maybe it was motivated by the desire to spread the word of God.
Yes.
But so what do you think happened to Portugal after the golden age of exploration? It seems, also because of Portugal's location, they've managed to avoid a lot of the wars that have infected Europe. And Spain too. Because you're surrounded by so much water. I mean, Portugal only has a border with Spain, and Spain only has a border with France, Andorra, and Portugal. So
Yes.
yeah,
Let's say, what can I tell you? I think that after, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion. I believe that a lot of historians agree with me. They agree with me. I believe that after the monarchy went down, things became worse, and never really, and we are never really recovery. So the monarchy went down in 1910, and after that our governments were very unstable, and after that we have the dictatorship for almost 50 years. So we have a lot of time. We lost a lot of time. In the dictatorship of Salazar, we went to a war because of our colonies, and we were poorer and poorer and poorer. And after that, the fear of the went to dictatorship again. That made the people become so socialist, and we start to lose colonies and stuff. We are not able to manage that. I always said that if Portugal managed that colonies like United Kingdom did with the Commonwealth and stuff, it would be a really nice system for us, with a lot of benefits. But we weren't smart enough to do that. It's like we felt so much guilty and so much shame, that we just leave it in a very disorganized way that in the end doesn't benefit neither Portugal, neither the countries.
Yeah, Brazil became independent, I believe, in about 1820s or so.
Yes,
Mozambique and Angola weren't until something like 75 or 1975 or something like that.
yes.
They were much
That's
later.
true.
Well, what do you
Yes,
think? What do you think? Since the monarchy went down in 1910, what motivated that? Was it something like the French Revolution, or was it?
yes, yes. The French Revolution played a big part in there. But of course people had these ideas, but it's not true to believe that all Portugal wants a republican regime, because it was a lie. It was not true. It was like an idea that born in Lisbon, mostly in Lisbon, not in Porto. People in Porto are really friends of monarchy, friends in a certainly way of speaking, more receptive of the concept. So it was like a modern vision that started to be spoken in Lisbon. So people became very mad because the Queen Victoria made an ultimatum to our king Charles, Carlos I, because of some colonies in Africa, due to a pink map. Uh, England, in fact, has threatened to leave some colonies to United Kingdom or war. So, of course, our king look at that and think that okay, I cannot be in a war with England, so I'm going to left it that way. And it was very wise, because in fact we cannot be in a war with England. So in that time, Portuguese people, Republicans, use that um, to to change the minds of the people, um uh, for them to think that our king humiliate us as a nation. And that's when in the streets they start to call what is today our Portuguese anthem. Uh, in that time, it was a Republican song, which instigate us to our big accomplishments of the past. Heróis do mar, nobre povo, nação valente e imortal. Heroes of the sea, noble people, heroic nation, and immortal nation. And people started to look at the monarchy with other eyes and see them as the ones to blame for our situation, which at that time was not that good in if you compared us with another European countries. So when the revolution took place, as I said it before, it was not the biggest part of the country. It was mostly Lisbon, but there it was let's say, it's like the monarchy was very tired. The monarchy and the people who surrounded them, they were very tired, because our king Carlos I was murdered in Lisbon. For the guy who shot him was a guy who belonged to a secret association called Carbonaria, which is formed with the goal of ending the monarchy. I think that I think it's very curious for us to know is that the Carbonari had a flag, and this flag is the Portuguese flag these days. Of course, that when the monarchy went down, they said, "Oh, okay, we are going to do another new flag and stuff." And they even show that there were some artists presenting their version. And but in the end, our current flag was the Carbonari flag. So it was a thing that was really planned and thinked. And when our king was murdered from Carbonari, his youngest child, which has 19 at the time, uh, of course, he was a very young kid and he was very traumatized with that. So he was not really prepared to grab a country in the middle of uh, some such dramatic change and with a lot of like intern war. um, so it's like he started to mentally giving up. And even his mother said to him, look, I lost your father, I lost your brother, I don't want to lose you. And in the end, the king didn't resist that much. When two or three or four or little revolutionary people start to send bombs to the palace, he really gave up that fast. And even when he went to England, when he spent all of his life until he's dead, um, in fact, some years later of his departure to United Kingdom, the region of Porto tried to put a monarchy here again, which was a very curious episode, which is called the North Monarchy because it was a phenomenon just in the north of Portugal, where a military guy just said, look, here we are going to be a monarchy. We are proclaiming the monarchy in the name of our king that is in England. And they even called the king, but the king said that, look, I don't want it that way. I don't want a revolution. I want people of Portugal want me back. If they don't express it, like for vote or something like that, I will not come back, and Portugal will be a republic. So it is what's happened until today. So
Yeah. So was the new republic more? Was it capitalist or was it communist or was it something like maybe the Weimar Republic in Germany after World War One? Or
I think our Republican movement was socialist and communist even until today. If you ask to the average Portuguese people, the people who share the monarchists, people who think the monarchy was a best system for Portugal, are mostly people from the conservative, right wing, classical liberals, and of course for the rest of the country, which is mostly socialist. They think that is no. We can never have a monarchy again because it is very insultuous, because you need to be a head of state which is elected. And in the end, in my personal, very very personal opinion, I think there is the shared idea between the Republicans and socialists that you are not allowed to born in the system who puts you like ahead of the others. But I think obviously you cannot compare that, but the logic is the same. Every time I speak with Republican friends, they say, and I ask them, why don't you prefer the monarchy? Because see, republic, you have, even with libertarians or classical liberals, I said to them, with republic you have another more politician. You have a person who came from the political parties, and they are like sit in the throne for 5 years, and then you have another one and another one. And why you as a classical liberal think that is the most um, uh, nice solution? Why don't you look at Spain and see like the unity that monarchy provides? In fact, when we look at Spain, if it wasn't for the monarchy, the country probably tears itself apart. I said it a lot of times. In the day that the Spain took down the monarchy, Spain as we knew it will gone forever. So that's it.
yeah. So and Portugal hasn't restored the monarchy since then, right?
Yes, they don't. And after that episode of the North Monarchy, that's when they tried to put that, and the king said, no, 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 if they don't want me, I don't come back to Portugal. The idea of monarchy started to disappear, slowly disappear. And even today, the people, the royal family, they are very closed off. They don't speak. They don't show up. They are really, really, really closed, with which don't make the job for the monarchists very, very easy. So I think they give up, which is, in my opinion, a little bit sad.
Certainly, yes. Well, maybe if they're not wanted. I mean, how do you think a monarchy, for example, Franco put the monarchy back in, or made preparations to reinstall the monarchy after his long reign in Spain.
Mhm.
What do you think the monarchy gives Spain that Spain would not have if they didn't have a monarchy, even though they do still have a parliament and are effectively a constitutional monarchy?
Okay, we knew that the after Franco, Spain have the return of the monarchy, which was a tricky but very interesting game played by the King Juan Carlos. A very, very dangerous game. But in the end, that dangerous game returned the democracy to Spain. So the Juan Carlos of Spain had really a job to do, and if he wanted, Spain could be a dictatorship even after Franco died. Juan Carlos could easily sign saying that, okay, we will running the country as an absolute monarchy, and I don't care about democracy, I don't care about anything. So of course he didn't say that to Franco. He always said to Franco that he will align, he will continue the ideas of the regime, that that will be not allowed communist parties and stuff like that. But in the end, after Franco died, he had that noble idea of, okay, let's do this democratic system here. um it was a very beautiful story indeed, and I'm so sad that it ended so bad for King Juan Carlos in the end, because he could really be a hero, and an ideal person for us to look. I always said to monarchists in Portugal that if Salazar did the same, and there was a lot of people who said that Salazar tried to do the same. He was like very close to the royal family, and that maybe in the end he probably had the idea of putting the monarchy in Portugal again. In fact, he tricked them. He tricked the monarchists to be in their side. He never closed the door to the return of the monarchy, which kind of put the monarchists to sleep, to be more sweet with him. But in the end, if Salazar did the same, if he tried to pass the throne to the royal family, I think Portugal could be better now, and without that bloody episode and revolution that happened.
What bloody episode was that?
Oh, the death of the king in the middle of Lisbon, with the king, his elder son. It was a very horrible episode at the time. In fact, you have the diaries of the son that survived, where he explained everything that he lives in that afternoon. It is a very touching description, and a very sad one, but I think it's worth to read. And what is most sad for me is that after the monarchy went down, they did. They forbid certain rights of vote to the people from the countryside in order for them to not vote for the monarchy again. And as the years went by, the idea, if I forbid people for monarchy to vote and I only allowed people for republic to vote, of course, in 100 years, like now, everyone will be a Republican. And don't even ask my generation, don't even ask when sometimes I ask them, uh, when you look at the United Kingdom, don't you think that works better? When you look at Spain, you don't think that works better? Netherlands, oh yes. And so why don't you want the monarchy again in Portugal? Oh, I don't think it's a good system. I think it's an old system and something like that. People stop to think, to have the critical capacity to think more than what is presented to them.
Yeah, so the assassination was actually in 1908 when King Carlos and his oldest son,
Yes,
Luis Felipe, were assassinated by
yes,
revolutionaries.
yeah,
Between the fall of the monarchy and the and some involvement in World War One and the ascension of Salazar. Was there a civil war? Was there a lot of violence in Portugal at the time, or did Salazar pretty much take over without much
yes.
protest?
Uh, um, from what I learned, uh, basically they asked Salazar to take care of the country, because they were like, we want a republic. Okay, you have a republic, so what now? And what happened is that every week you have another government. You had a biggest number of governments in the very short time. So they asked to Salazar, which was a teacher in Coimbra, I believe, not sure, but I believe it was economic teacher, something like that. They ask him, like, look, can you please take care of the country, because this is a mess. And he was like, okay, I will, but you cannot interfere. I will do whatever I can to put the country, the economy back on track, but you cannot interfere in whatever I'm going to do. And the despair was so much that people was like, okay. And in fact, that was true. Salazar uh, did his way, dictatorship way. You cannot speak, you cannot have freedom of speech, of press, and something like that. But in fact, we have to look the things in the right way. Salazar did, in my opinion, two things that was right. He was smart enough to not involve Portugal in the war. It was one of them. And the second one is that he died like in poverty. He didn't stole anything. And even the leader of the Socialist Party, Mário Soares, a former leader, he even said that in his final years of life. He said that, I hated Salazar. I was enemy with him, but I acknowledge him one thing: he never touched public money. So until today, there is these two visions of that persona. In fact, there was a contest some years ago where they elected the biggest Portuguese person ever. So it was two people in the end for Portuguese people to vote, and these two people was Dom Afonso Henriques, our founder, our king founder, and Salazar. And it was Salazar who won, and that opened a discussion in society, why people are looking at the past with this vision, since we had the revolution, since our freedom cost so much, why people are looking at history with another look, what happened. So I believe that people these days are able to see that, okay, the regime was not a good one. Our economy was very in the state. everything in the state, everything should be produced in the country and sold in the country, a very closed off economy. But it had these 2 points where, in fact, in comparison with another countries in Europe, we were not that bad. And after the democracy, we were not as good as we think that we could be. I remember there was a presentation for a big friend of mine, a university teacher called Nuno Palma. He spoke about that in a conference in Lisbon, where he actually said that the revolution of 25th of April didn't give Portugal the wealth that Portugal thought it will had in democracy. And people were really mad, but in fact, it was true, and we need to look at things with a critical look and judge.
Yeah. So, what did what did Antonio Salazar believe in during all that time? Was he maybe one of these anti-communist dictators who seemed to dominate Catholic countries during this time? I mean, there were and it seems as though the Catholicism influenced a lot of these anti-communists.
Yes, of course. We even had a saying in Portugal, and we still have, which is in that days it was football, Fatima, and Fado, which is the three symbols of the regime. I think, of course, Salazar was very
Yes.
influenced by religion. Of course, he was. I think that in comparison, let's see, with Franco and other dictators at that time, you cannot look at Salazar like a fascist. And today it's very common for people to say, oh, Salazar was a fascist. In fact, historians just said that it was not true. He was not a fascist. In fact, his regime had some specific characteristics that distinguished him that fascist regime. So until these days, historian people called it a Salazarista regime.
Yeah. So was his economic program more of maybe something like a corporate state or something like that, or
Yes,
maybe
it was everything on the state.
operating with the big companies too? I find it interesting that I think a certain degree of nationalism is not a bad thing, but how does a smaller country like Portugal really expect to have any kind of you're not really a big enough country, for example, to produce your own cars
Mm-hmm.
or to do a lot of the big industry. Really, you have to have a larger population to support
Yes.
the demand for your own products.
Yes.
So do you think that kept Portugal backward, that they weren't importing things and trading more with other countries? I mean, they did join the common market later, after Salazar died, but
Yes.
yeah.
I didn't understand your question exactly.
That Portugal was trying to do everything on their own and not trying to make all of their own goods. And
Yes.
you can grow your own food, but it's not always feasible to try to manufacture everything, especially for a smaller country.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that in the Salazar time, it was an excessive state in economy, a very closed off economy that of course affected us in a negative way. And later on the when we joined the European Union, I think the opposite happened. I think that because of the European Union agreements and stuff like that, several parts of our economy, like fishing and agriculture and something like that, really in the end they didn't went too well. Our economy ended with a lot of prejudice, and until today we don't have our economy really balanced, since since we import a lot more than we export. In fact, I don't see that data for a while, but I think it for several years that is happening.
Yeah, what is Portugal importing and what are they exporting?
What in fact, I cannot tell you. I know that Portugal exports a lot of cortiça. I don't know how to say that in English. Uh,
Hoodies,
Probably the thing from for the bottles, to close the bottles.
carbonation, or
Let me just check to you.
yeah. I also heard they might have imported a lot or exported a lot of
A lot of
tungsten or wolfram, which is used in
cork.
the manufacturing of steel.
Cork was the word that I that I want
Yeah,
to
cork.
talk
Yeah,
about. We
yeah,
are the largest, the world's largest producers. So, and I know
yeah,
that we export a lot of wine, of course,
yes,
port wine, and a lot of shoes. But in the end, it's
yeah,
the cork.
yeah. Also, I would expect you would have a significant fishing industry.
Yes, I'm not the right person to talk about that, but what I learned is that with the European Union agreements, a lot of our fishing policies were destroyed by these agreements.
Yeah,
So
it seems like I'm not a fan of the EU because it seems like it's just more of a it's not about free trade and while there is some free trade and people crossing the borders, it just seems to be more like this large super state that wants to regulate everything and isn't really
yes,
it's just removing the accountability for those regulations, which are some cases disastrous.
mhm.
You know,
I agree. I agree a lot.
I mean, if Portuguese fishermen are selling the fish to the restaurant in Portugal, why should anybody in Brussels care about that?
Yes, 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 yes. And it is so annoying when I go to the supermarket, knowing that we have plenty of sea, plenty of fish, and in the end, I'm going to the supermarket and see that my fish came from, I don't know, Spain and the Andalusia.
Yeah,
Doesn't make sense. We can produce that. So I think we went from a extreme to another.
yeah. I've never understood the why we would ever have to get food, why we would ever get food from a long way away. I know we can do it, but for most of our life, most of the food we consumed was probably within 20 or 30 kilometers of where we lived.
Hmm.
And granted, we're not hunter gatherers anymore, but still, food is a very perishable item. It just doesn't, it's not fresh when you ship it. And it
Yes.
doesn't really make any sense to try to the centralization of food production just doesn't make a whole lot of, or food distribution just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yes, I think one thing is when you want something that in your country you are not able to produce. Like,
Yeah,
it is utopic for me to think that Portugal can produce, I don't know, mangoes, or I don't know. It's very hard
yeah,
to do that. So I admit that we need to export that. But if we have plenty of sea, why we need to import fish from Spain? Doesn't make sense. So I think that is in this kind
yeah.
of thing that European Union, that superstate, um, fails a lot.
But if I've also heard British fishermen complaining about the same regulations.
Mm.
So, which might have at least in part motivated Brexit. What do the Portuguese generally think about the European Union?
I think the Portuguese, in fact, like the European Union. I think the Portuguese look at the European Union like a big judge. Like, our government is so bad that European Union politics looks like they are the grown people in the room. It's like, oh no, our prime minister is doing this. Oh, but Brussels will not allow that to happen. uh, in the last week, as I told you at the beginning of the conversation, they approved a package of measures related to houses that allow that you can lose your second home. To You are in fact obligated to rent your second home if the state wants it. And there was some parties that run to Brussels, um like asking them to look at this. Look, this is not right. This is against the laws, what you have to say. So for the Portuguese people, is kind of saviors. And I think it's a very dangerous thing to think about, because the European Union is become more and more intrusive in our lives, in our freedom of speech, in our economy. In fact, I always say to people that, in my opinion, uh, freedom for trading, freedom of circulation between the countries, that is actually very good things. But when there is a person in Brussels saying that the Portuguese people now should have received, I don't know how much, migrants, or pay a fee for not receiving that. Or when I have a person in Brussels saying that now Portuguese people must, I don't know, pay a tax for shopping online. They approved that some months ago. To a certain amount of shopping online, you must pay a tax. So what is the thing that we are accepting, not only for our local government, but for a central one? And sometimes even with my friends, my liberal friends or libertarian friends, not libertarians, but liberals and classical liberals, when I say this to them, they really want to have like like United States, but from Europe. They actually want that. And when you ask them, but why? Because without them, we will be so weak. We need to be all together, all strong, in order to face Russia or China, or the biggest economies in the world. And I say, okay, that is okay, but I don't need that people in Brussels tell Portugal or Spain or Italy what to do. This is more.
Yeah.
This is not supposed to be something a liberal should like, in my opinion, of course.
Yes. So what? How do you think? One thing though, because of the situation in Portugal, I know they have been encouraging a lot of people to move there, offering a lot of tax incentives. I know there was they wouldn't tax your crypto profits, I believe, and things like that. This is not financial advice. This is not tax advice. This is not legal advice. But have you met a lot of people who are moving for example, moving from some of the richer parts of Europe, or maybe even America, to Portugal? Or what do you say about that?
Yes, I met a few people. I talked with a British young man some weeks ago, and he openly told me that Portugal was a very nice country to live because of the weather, because of the food. And he told me that, in fact, he was having his job here, his little company here. And I told him in a joke way, like, oh, wait until you see your taxes, the taxes you have to pay to government. And he said, oh, no, we don't have that. There is a policy that you if you come to Portugal, you are absent of taxes for 10 years. And I was like, but which tax? Personal income? Ah, yes, yes, yes. And I was like, oh, okay, of course. In with that conditions, of course, I agree. Portugal would be a paradise. So my biggest critic about that, it's not that kind of politics is wrong. The problem is not it is that is not applied to everyone, to Portuguese. So it's not very logic. Our people are going to United Kingdom because our taxes is we are the country in Europe that have more tax efforts, for what you earn versus what you have to pay to the state. We are the ones who earns less and pays more. This relation, in comparison with other European countries. So you have people from United Kingdom or Italy, I don't know, who comes to Portugal and don't have to pay any taxes. And then Portuguese people see themselves forced to go to another countries in Europe because they can't take the taxes. So, as a friend of mine used to say, here in Portugal, the system are built for not allow people to earn more than 2,000 euros. Uh, which I believe is true, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's probably a lot cheaper to live there than most places in Europe. So
Yes.
if you have people who live off investments or something like that, it's a good place. Uh, what do you think Portugal will do to get out of this? And do you think they'll do that, or do you think it'll get better, worse before it gets better?
I don't even know how to answer you that, because um, it will depends a lot of the thinking of my generation, and my generation is really bounced since we are a part which is very socialist, very woke. I think they were a few, and you have another part which is very nationalist. The things are so bad that at this moment uh, you don't have like opinion in the middle, a rational opinion in my way of thinking, because you have a part of people who agrees that that's okay if the state, if one don't have a house and you have two houses, it's okay for the state to take one from you and give to the poor people. And if you don't agree with that, you are being a fascist. And you have the other people who said, no, the problem is that we have a lot of people, foreign people, and we have to send them away. And that moment we don't have an opinion in the middle, a moderated opinion. It's all focused on one extreme and another extreme. And I don't think what will, I don't know what will be the future,
Yeah.
since the classical liberal ideas just vanished. There were some liberal ideas, some opening to discuss them in society, since the party, the Liberal Party, arrived in 2016, 16, 18. I'm not sure, because before that year, it was almost a dangerous word to talk liberal. But since the party these days are very closed off to the left wing, the concept of liberalism is like fading, which makes the people who are more conservatives and even more liberal, classical
Yeah.
liberals, are near the right wing, the most conservative part of society. So in fact I cannot look and foresee a situation just like in Spain. It's the same situation. Society is so thrown apart that I cannot foresee.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it also like during the mass hysteria, surrounding the big bad virus?
I'm so sorry.
The mass hysteria
Oh,
surrounding the big bad virus.
the COVID.
Yes, I
Uh,
say that sarcastically.
yes. Uh, in Portugal, people were very scared. I remember that when I heard about it for the first time, I thought it was hysterical. It was very hysterical. It was in my mind. I was like, I see everyone around me. Oh my God, COVID! I was like, at the time I was a teacher, and I started to see people very very scared, looking at each other. I remember that you cannot cough. Oh my God, there was some papers in our desk saying that if you have some symptoms you should be locked in the bathroom and wait for the services, to the health services, to take you to the hospital. And I was like, oh my God, I hope I will not cough while I'm giving my classes, or I will have to be locked in the bathroom. So I started not to take that too serious. And in the end, I believe that I took that serious because because I was obligated to that. I was obligated to that because if I wanted to go for a coffee, this measure was hysterical. Our government said that after 1 p.m. you cannot be on the streets. Why 1 p.m.? I don't know. I don't know if COVID has some schedule to work. I don't know. But after 1 p.m., if you were seen on the streets, you will have a fee to pay to the police. This was so stupid. And in my part, I refused to be at home locked. I could not accept that. So what I did to get away with that was that you actually can go to shopping and stuff like that. And I left my house with a little bag. So if a cop asked me, "Oh, where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to shopping." So I remember that a lot of people, in fact, adopt pets or went walk the neighbor's pets. So that was it. The economy almost stopped. They force people to vaccinate, and that was it. And everyone who doesn't agree with that was a fascist.
Is it back to normal if you want to travel to Portugal right now? If people want to visit,
Sorry.
if people want to visit Portugal, is it back to normal now?
I think that is normal, or
Yes, I mean
even or
getting
even
in, not having any tests or anything like that.
yes, everything is normal. Yes, yes, yes. It take a little while, but everything came to normal, which was a very curious thing to see, because Portugal is a very orientated to tourists, especially in Algarve. If you go to Algarve, you can see that in a restaurant, if you ask for a menu, you don't see the menu in Portuguese. Uh, in fact, in Lisbon, when you go to a store and they say to you, "Bom dia," good morning, they say to you in English, and when you answer in Portuguese, they're like, "Oh no, no, no." They go away because they know that the Portuguese people don't have a lot of. They cannot buy, in fact, and the foreign people, the tourists, they buy a lot. So in that COVID time, they were able to see that they need the Portuguese people
Yeah,
too. So they went to a horrible time. A lot of small businesses just closed, small restaurants, small shops. But I think now that the strong ones kind of survived, things are more balanced.
yes. I just remembered. What can you tell me about the situation with Portugal and the legalization of many drugs that are illegal elsewhere?
Hmm. I'm not the right person to talk about it because I'm not sure of a lot of points. I don't know, like what is criminalized, if it's the trading or the consumption. I'm not really sure about that. But in the general lines, I think that there is a big social fight for people and government to accept the light drugs as marijuana, even to medical finalities. And I think it is used at the moment. Hard drugs, no way. And now with the extreme right wing ideas, um, the conception of uh, legalize all drugs, that the libertarians often say that is the way, for the conservatives is no way, neither to medical reasons, nothing. We cannot touch the drugs or incentivize drugs because it destroys a lot of people. And then you have the other side, that is the communists, the socialists, who say that who say that you if you want to take drugs or something, you can do that, but the state needs to be aware of that. I don't know how, but it's the same logic. So you don't have an option in the middle who say that, look, I believe that if you want to take drugs, light drugs, you can in your privacy, and that is the way of, in fact, abolish the crimes with drugs, and not the opposite, as the conservatives are saying. So it was a most discussed topic in the past, like in the last couple of years, that which is now is not a very discussed topic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so is it pretty much is Portugal still pretty much is there still a lot of, I mean, is it pretty much still very much a family culture like a lot of Catholic countries, or is it
Mhm,
very much, or do you see a lot of divorce and other
mhm.
things like that?
Yes, in Portugal, there was a statistic that said that a marriage in Portugal, in average, doesn't resist more than 3 years, which is very pessimist. Um, I don't know why is that. In fact, I don't know if it's due to financial reasons or personal personal stuff related to the people. But in fact, for what I see, it's true. There is not that concept of marriage for life. I think the feminism and the fact of the women these days have these careers, and they are not to accept a lot of things, and which is very good, uh, made that the relationships became more fragile, because in the times of our grandmas and grandfathers, women took a lot from their husbands. And I think that was part of the reason that the marriage took a lifetime. Uh, so I don't know. I think the religious part, it's not so important those days. I believed so. Um, I think deep inside, people are still religious. They believe in God. They have their own faith, but they don't allow the church principles to rule their lives in such a way as it was in our grandfathers and grandmothers' days.
Okay, well, that's certainly been interesting. I think this is a good time to wrap it up. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
And where can we find you on the internet?
Okay, as my friends say, I'm the queen of Twitter. So if someone wants to find me, the best way is in fact Twitter. My
Yes.
handle on Twitter is Claudia Shandy, with SH and with an I in the end. So search for me.
Okay, please like the video or give it a thumbs up and follow, subscribe to the channel. Go buy my novel, Escape from the Village. I'm Chris Baker, and we're out.